Hello and welcome to another edition of In Session with Thomas and Tara. Happy Friday, November.
Friday.
It's the first Friday in November.
Yes, it is. I tell you, this year has gone by so quick.
It really has.
And before you know it, we're just a few weeks away from Thanksgiving. And then the countdown is on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then there we go,
Dude,
the dawn of a new year.
the countdown starts in September
That's true.
when Walmart puts the tinsel in the lawn and garden department. It switches out from pots and soil and flowers to Christmas. That's when the
You're right.
countdown begins in September.
You are so right. Because you know what? Last week I was just in Walmart, just like you said. And I laughed about it because I was with my son because he was trying to get some things done for a project he was working on in school. And I said to him when we walked in the lawn and garden department, I said, "Man, it's a winter wonderland back here.
It's one I
I'm
love it.
starting to feel a little bit like Christmas
It's
just walking through
beginning
there.
to look a lot like.
Christmas.
And I'm gonna try and talk my husband this year into let me get 3 Christmas trees. I had a plan last year. It didn't quite work, but
That's a
I'm
little.
working.
That's a little much.
I know. I just love Christmas.
I do
love
too.
Christmas.
I must admit, it's the most wonderful time of year. Not just because of the song, but I
It
love
is.
that time of year.
I love it.
Actually, I love this time of year with fall and
Mhm.
the changing of the weather. We live here in Charleston. It's finally getting cool. I can't say cold, but
Yeah.
it's finally getting cool.
Feels like a season is turning over.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Cold early mornings, hot afternoons.
I have officially, I think it's been almost 2 weeks now, turned
Mhm.
the air condition off.
Oh yeah, it's off.
It's off, y'all.
It's off.
But
It's
you know
off.
what? Speaking of this time of year and the
Mhm.
season, it's the time of year for voting.
Yes.
Midterm elections are here.
Yes.
Basically, and I say are here. I know election day is next Tuesday. I understand that, but I said it's here because many folks in the low country where we live have and across the nation have taken advantage of early voting,
Yes.
and we did as well. Earlier
Mhm.
this week we took advantage of early voting and we got it in. There was a line already at 9 o'clock in the morning
It was.
at the commission, and I'm telling you, I mean, it moved pretty fast, but there was a people were out there waiting in line
Yes.
to early vote. So that should tell you that look, there's a lot going on in our country. There's things that need to be changed. Um, my prayer is that the change of the guards happen real quick because the way things are happening in government right now, um, me personally, I don't agree with a lot of it. Somebody out there who's listening may be on the opposing side and may feel like all is well. But
Right.
in my mind, where I live, in my culture, all is not well.
But and that's why Tara, you and I we talked and we decided this is what we wanted to do with this particular edition of In Session, just to bring about awareness as far as
Hmm.
what's going to happen this upcoming Tuesday. The first thing we want to do is encourage you to please vote.
Vote. And if you have not registered in our state, I'm not sure what the cutoff is for other states, but it's too late for you to register. The deadline is already it's done.
Right.
So you will miss the midterm elections because you have not registered and you missed the cutoff. However, if you are a registered voter in South Carolina, please check your registration status. Make sure your residence is good. Make sure everything is in line because, of course, photo identification. It's been in place for a little while now, but they're
Yes.
checking your ID when you go to the polls. So, just be ready, be prepared whenever you go. I was reading a few things that came across my email, being that this is the season, and the midterm elections are upon us. You get, solicitations from all the parties and
Right.
different things. And one email came across, um, and just something grabbed my attention. It talked about the last midterm election 4 years ago. The United States had the lowest voter turnout since World War II. Only 36% of eligible voters cast the ballot.
No, Tara, that's a low percentage.
That's sad.
That is.
That's sad.
That's it's very sad. That's a very low percentage. And here it is that uh, what a lot of people or what people refer to as our right or as our democratic right to actually cast that ballot.
A constitutional right.
Our constitutional right, I'm sorry, to cast that ballot to make our voice be heard. And a lot of us don't even use the power that we have. And one of the things I even talked to you about earlier, and one of the things that I read, is not that a lot of people are voting for actually what's going on now. The problem is that people are not voting at all.
That's it. It's not that we're not like the voter turnout has been so low all over, not just here in South Carolina, but all over the country. It's almost as though we've gone to sleep. And it was a saying, slang came out a few years ago. You got to be woke. We got to wake up,
Gotta
people.
wake
We
up.
got to wake up. No, hey, it's new to some people, but who sung that song? Wake up, everybody. Dun, dun, dun,
Teddy
dun.
P.
Teddy P.
Teddy
Come
P.
on.
Teddy P.
Come on. We got to wake up.
Yes.
We have to wake up in order to kill the giants. We got to be activated. We have to be registered eligible voters. We have to not just be eligible voters, is we have to use action. Go out and cast your ballots. I'm not saying I don't. You know what? I am saying I do care who you vote for. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but vote.
Yes.
Vote. It's just when I went in there on Wednesday and voted, it was just a sense of empowerment. Like I took advantage of my constitutional right to go out there and cast a ballot. I took advantage of you talked a few shows ago about Selma, Alabama, and the move for voters to have the right, for us as African Americans to have the right to vote. We spoke very passionately about that time,
Yes.
and for so many of us to just sleep on it and just not think that your vote doesn't count. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but your vote really does count.
It does.
Look at the present administration. Look at the present administration. They weren't, half of them weren't. They're not in office, just like what Thomas said a second ago. They're not in office because everyone elected him. No, it says right here, in the last midterm election, only 36% of eligible voters cast a ballot. That means our voice wasn't heard.
Right.
A lot of people looking at the elections in Florida. It's going to be a hot one.
Florida, Georgia. There's a few.
Well, South Carolina.
South
To me,
Carolina.
South Carolina
Of course, is
matters.
where we
North
are.
Carolina.
And even though we are, we are from the Low Country. We are from. We live in Summerville. We're from Charleston, South Carolina. This show appeals to so many people. We have people virtually all over that have listened to this particular outlet that we have, and we want to again encourage you to go out and exercise your right to vote on Tuesday. Real quick, babe, let's even talk about those that's eligible. That teenager that's getting ready to turn 18. What is the first thing that they should do?
If you're a young man, don't you have to do something different than
You got me on that one.
18 year? Don't you guys? They don't do that anymore. Well, you register to vote, of course.
Yeah,
but
register to vote. if
Don't you
you're
have to?
18.
Do you still have to do that draft thing?
Uh,
I don't know.
It's been a while since I've been 18. So, and babe, I know it's been a little while since you've been 18.
No, but I think absolutely register to vote. I think that it's I remember when we took Christopher. Christopher is our oldest child. He's 30 now, and I remember us registering him to vote, going through the process,
yes.
filling out the paperwork.
Mhm.
I remember taking him to cast his ballot. Do you remember,
I
babe?
remember for the first time.
For the
yes.
first time,
I
and
remember.
it was just a feeling that, and all of our friends and family that know Christopher, he's just a bright shining light to everybody. But hey, Christopher registered. Christopher went out and he went in the ballot. Did you
Sure
take him in
I
there, or
took-
did they
Both of us took him, but yeah.
took him? Like,
Mhm.
did you have to take him in?
No, I didn't.
He
I
went in
didn't take
on
him
his
in.
own,
Yeah.
and he did his research, and he cast his vote. He cast a ballot and voted, and I'll never forget that experience. And to this day, I believe he's still taking advantage of his
Yeah.
constitutional right.
So when you're 18, if you're 17 and a half, and you coming up, some of you millennials might not know what 17 and a half means. That means that you're within 6 months of being 18. When we was kids, we always used to use that half
What?
mark.
That
I'm
half
11
was
and a half.
powerful.
I'm 12 and a
That
half.
half was powerful. That half.
So if you're 17 and a half, please consider within the next 6 months your 18th birthday. Go ahead and do the right thing. I encourage you to do it. I remember like yesterday. I'll share this story with you, and then we'll jump into some other things. The very first time I voted, I'll never forget, was 1992, the presidential election, when Bill Clinton
Oh,
was the Democratic nominee
I remember that.
against sitting President George W. Bush. Wow. That was something else. I remember I stood in line for a total of 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I will never forget it. But it was the best 3 hours. I feel as though my dad and I spent, even to date, one of the most memorable moments I'll never forget.
Two sides for me. That was my first election too.
Really?
I know. I was.
But you're
I
much older than I am.
I know. Oh, Tom, that was below the belt. That was below the belt. I'm good.
I'll leave that alone.
Yes,
I'll leave
yes.
that alone.
I guess I'm a cougar. Am I a cougar? Does that make me a cougar? Oh.
I don't know.
Uh,
That's another show. We'll leave that
That's
alone.
another show.
That's another show.
no, I'm not. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm very proud of it. I was 20 when I voted for the first time
Right.
in a huge election like that.
Very.
That was massive. Like
Yes, it was.
Bill Clinton being a Democrat, trying to unseat years of Republican rule.
He was a baby boomer.
He was, yep,
He was just
there.
a
He
whole
was
lot
he was
of
cool.
things.
I thought he was cool, and he got my attention. So it took something. Well, even at 18, I wouldn't have been able. It wasn't a presidential election going on when I turned 18. It was
right.
probably a midterm, which I wasn't even. I'm being honest, just being, completely candid. I really didn't pay attention at
Okay.
18 during
Okay.
that time. But
Okay.
Bill Clinton woke. I was woke.
The country was woke.
The country woke when Bill Clinton came in. It was just fresh and new and
It was.
exciting,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to be a part of that, and that was very tremendous time for me to be a part of that.
And so, ever since then, up until now, I exercise that right. And for those of you, again, that's reaching that particular uh, monument, if you will, turning 18, I encourage you to register to vote.
Yeah, and do check the websites for those of you who are working. I know in our states, in our county, we have until Monday at 5 o'clock to vote early.
Mhm.
So Monday, what's that? November 5th. Would that be the
Yes.
5th? So Monday, November 5th, at 5 o'clock p.m. and go online, check out, look at your voter registration card, see where your precinct is for you to vote. And then you have to go to certain Of course, you won't go to that precinct because 9 times out of 10 it's a church or a school. Well, some churches in the county, I know in Charleston County, are set up now to take early voter. I
Oh,
know,
okay.
Seacoast is. I'm not sure which location. I know Royal Baptist Church is in Charleston County for early voter. But being a resident of Berkeley County in South Carolina, I have to go to Monk's Corner for to vote early. So check out where you have to go. Take advantage of early voting. It'll change your life. You get in there, you kind of take your time. You don't feel rushed. The crowd is not as big. The lines are not real long, but they are lines, but they move along pretty fast. So if you're working that day and not sure what your schedule is, vote early.
Yeah.
What's stopping you?
Nothing's stopping you.
What's stopping you? We have to be the change.
We have to.
We have somebody who said that. We have to. Maybe it was
We-
Barack Obama.
We have to be the change.
We have to be
Barack
the
Obama.
change.
I've seen, as a joke, there's been a few memes here and there, but everybody wants to put him back on the ballot.
Hey,
But,
hey.
a few other nuggets I want to share with you also. Again, we have so many people that listen from literally all over the country, all over the world. Pay close attention to what you're voting for. Of course, you have your own local election. Some of it may be statewide, some of it may be countywide, citywide. However, pay close
Board,
attention.
Karna, clerk of court,
Yes,
all kinds of different.
but you know, be extremely careful. Vote your conscience. Please do that. For those of you that
Hmm.
want to vote straight ticket, okay. But for those of you that don't, again, vote your conscience. Also, pay close attention and read the different amendments. That's
Yes,
very important.
absolutely. Read them carefully and take
Yes.
your time.
Yes.
Don't feel
Don't
rushed.
rush.
That's your time.
Yes.
It's not a time test. You go in there and you take your time. It's not like after 5 minutes, the machine's going to
Right.
shut off. Take your
No, take
time.
your time.
It's very important that you understand what you're voting for, yes or no, to whatever. I think in Berkeley County we had 3
We had
amendments
three. Right.
on the books, and I took my time. One or two I had to read over and over and over again to make sure I understood what it meant. But I took my time and I voted.
Yes. So again, vote your conscience. Take your time, just like Tara stated. There's nothing rushing you. Make sure you understand clearly what it is that you're doing. Follow all the directions very carefully. And after you finish and you hit that green button or whatever button it is, and it
Hmm.
says that what's the word that
You
you
have
use?
successfully cast
Yes,
your
you
ballot.
cast your ballot. Then you have successfully exercised your right as an American
I'm gonna
citizen.
exercise my whites.
You're right. I got a little
You
tongue
need some
tied there.
water.
No, I'm good. I got a little tongue tied there. But we want you to do that. And again, this is why we wanted to come to you today to encourage you to do that, to encourage you to move forward
Hmm.
and do that, because I feel as though it's extremely necessary.
Check. There's a lot of I guess I don't know what the terminology is for it, but when there's people trying to distract you at the polls, there's a lot of that going on. Um, there are a range of things going on, such as people being like I remember, I think it was Florida or Georgia, when
Hmm.
there was like a bus of elderly people being taken to the polls and they were stopped. And do you remember that
I
story
do
coming?
remember
They
that.
were
I
and
do
this was
remember
this
that.
year. They were being taken to early vote, and it was being questioned whether or not the the people that were taking them were influencing them. There's a lot of that going. I think it's called disenfranchised voters.
Okay.
I think that's what the terminology. If I'm wrong, comment below and I'll correct it. I think that's what it is. But there's so many reasons for us to vote. Healthcare is a major thing that's going to be decided by the midterm election. The people who we elect in these offices for the midterm are going to be the people that's going to be either when the president makes decisions, they're gonna be fighting him when these
Right.
laws come down. They're gonna be these people that make these decisions.
Right.
Our senators, our congressmen, our help me out. Who else we voted for
In the
this time?
House and the Senate,
And House and Senate. That's what I
South
said.
Carolina has a gubernatorial race going on. So
Yeah, there is a gubernatorial rate. Gubernatorial. Say the
see,
word.
gubernatorial.
Thank you, baby. You're so good at what you do. Gubernatorial race going on.
Y'all remember she said that now.
Yeah, you
Gotta hold
ladies.
that against her. Y'all
You know,
remember she said that.
it's recorded. It's recorded. But
Yes.
there are so many issues. Healthcare, um, raising of minimum wage, um, pay e- um, pay equality for women,
Yes.
um, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure, making public colleges and universities tuition free, transforming our energy systems, immigration reform, criminal justice reform. Many, 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 many issues are
I
going to
don't
be
mean to be
decided.
petty, but infrastructure, that's been an ongoing.
Yeah, I know. That's
I'll
just
leave
on my,
that one alone. That's been
that's on my
ongoing.
list. That's like,
My road, my street,
hold on.
my bridge.
I was gonna say the flood downtown.
Oh,
Every-
ongoing. I've been out here for
Ongoing.
25 years.
And it's
That
always been a
same thing.
pool. There's always been
It's,
water.
it's been a
But
pool, all right.
yeah, there's so many things, guys. So your vote does matter. Your vote does count. So please, ma'am, please, sir, I don't want to see you on social media huffing and puffing about anything after these midterm elections that concerns our government if you did not exercise your right to vote. I just don't want to hear it.
That's right.
You are the change.
No need to complain. No need to complain at all. So again, we encourage you on Tuesday to exercise your right and vote. And this is one show, of course, that we actually turned to this. But trust me, it's going to be the one of many that we're going to be discussing a lot of things
Absolutely.
as it results the community,
Mm-hmm.
as it results different policies, things that's going to affect me, things that's going to affect you.
That's right.
So continue to continue. I got tongue tied there again. So
What
help
is
me
wrong?
out.
You feel like I can't. Well, I can say. Can I say Steve Harvey? Don't he play that character called Tongue Tie? Tama tat tongue tie tona te
I,
with
I,
tea
I,
time to te. Tongue
I
tie
want to
talk with
act like him,
tease.
but I want to act like him, but I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Te and Terry ting to tease.
Stop,
He
stop,
said
Terry.
it was
Stop.
tongue tie.
Stop.
Ain't that what Steve Harvey do? Okay.
That's what he does.
All right. I gave him credit.
But we always enjoy bringing you another In Session, another edition of In Session with Thomas and Tara. And if you enjoyed this particular segment, we would love for you to like, comment, or share. And just to let everybody know what's going on. Again, we encourage you to vote this upcoming Tuesday. Don't forget.
Election day is Tuesday. No, is that November 6th?
Make sure
Yeah,
you're
I
telling
believe
people the right
so.
thing.
Come on, man, help us, sister.
Make
Out.
sure you're saying the
You
right
not. I'm
thing
gonna
now.
fire you, Thomas. You're not a good assistant.
You're supposed to be assisting me, ain't it?
I know. Yeah, Tuesday is November 6th. It is
Yes,
November
the
6th.
6th. Tuesday,
Um,
November 6th.
Look, if you need rides to the polls, a lot of stuff is going on social media. People are offering different rules of transportation for you. If you need help getting to the polls, it's all out there, guys. So what I'll do is I'll make sure and get a hold of um, those resources out there, and I'll post them so that you can be aware what is out there for you to take advantage of for free, for free. So just make sure that you vote. Make sure you vote. And thanks again, guys, for joining me, Thomas, for another edition of In Session with Thomas and Tara. Until next week.